for the Okay, so good evening, guys. Okay, so let's. Today's topic is basically the new experiences in Micro Integrator. So we have done lots of work here in Micro Integrator to improve the developer experience and the productivity. So I'll try to cover most of the stuff within this short period of time. So yeah, so basically we believe now the Micro Integrator version we have now is the greatest and the smartest version ever. So today's agenda, I'll go walk you through evolution of how Micro Integrator became from ESB up to now, and then we have introduced a new expression language or syntax for Micro Integrator, and data transformation and extensions, how we are handling that, and mediator. There's a tryout feature for each mediator now, so offline, and new mediators and connecting improvements. There's a thing called configurables and AI features and features of the Micro Integrator. Okay, so this doesn't cover the whole story of the ESB, because ESB was originally, I believe in 2013 or in that era, ESB was there. And then I took a snapshot after 2019 to explain how we evolved from 2019 up to now. So basically, I believe most of you guys have been using Micro Integrator or thinking of using Micro Integrator or have used Micro Integrator in the past. So it's important to give you a brief idea. So basically, we started with Enterprise Service Bus ESB product, which was very famous at that time, and it was capable of handling the SOAP-based integrations and XML really well. So we were performing really well in that area during that time. And then in 2019, after some time, we merged ESB with other products like Message Broker, BPS, and everything, and released it as a single product called Enterprise Integrator. So inside the Enterprise Integrator, we had the conventional ESB as it is, and then with the other products. And then in 2019, we released Enterprise Integrator 660 alongside one thing called Micro Integrator 1.0. So what we did with Micro Integrator is like we took the robust and the battle-tested runtime called Synapse and make it lightweight and only keeping the important part of the Synapse runtime, and we were able to make it very lightweight, like around 100 MB range, we were able to get there. And then memory footprint and startup time was like drastically improved. Basically, before that, ESB was like taking, I think, 60 seconds to start the server. So this latest, the what you have 440 will start around 3 seconds or 4 seconds in JDK 21 and so on. So then development experience, but we kept, we were going with Integration Studio, which was based on Eclipse, but some are happy, some are not happy with that. So we get that, and what we were trying to do there is like implement a new VS Code extension. So there we believe we need to come up, overcome a lot of limitations getting from the Eclipse because of legacy model frameworks and so on that we used for Integration Studio. So basically with Eclipse, it's hard to imagine how to Git Copilot there. So that framework, with that framework is really hard. So VS Code extension is built ground up from, it's WSO2 technology from ground up. The modeling frameworks, graphical elements, everything designed at WSO2. And so we have the great flexibility of tweaking it here and there and make a great product out of it. So in 2024, last year, if you attend WSO2Con USA, so you have seen the developer preview. So after 2 months, we were able to release the GA version. And soon we released the GA version, we thought of improving it further. So in 2024, what we did was like we tried to get all the features in Integration Studio to VS Code with keeping the server as constant. So after 2024, we improved both to give the better experience and the performance gains and everything. So last year, we worked tremendously on improving the user experience. So yeah, so I'll first show you a small demonstration. So this is the new VS Code editor. Basically, if you open the project, it will show the diagrams as you've seen in earlier Barcelona integrator product. So we have a similar interface here. So in the Micro Integrator plugin, you can basically add the artifacts. So these artifacts are the things that Shankar mentioned in the keynotes, APIs as integrations, and then automations as integrations, and then finally the event integration. So those three integrations we support out of the box, and we have a lot of event integration out of the box, and also a lot are coming as connectors as well. So then you can see now the configurables, the server configurations are now can make as configurables. I'll dive you through that later in the slides. And now connectors, how it shows the connectors as dependencies, how to work with the connectors. And then other dependencies for Java, class mediators, and so on. All the project configuration are shown in the single pane, and also deployment option. If you see the Devant that we released iPass recently, so we can directly push it from the VS Code itself to the cloud solution. And here the quick example is about agent that we build. I showed this yesterday's session, so whoever attended that might know the details. But here, agent is another mediator. So like log mediator, payload factory mediator, you can add agent mediator. In the control pane, you can see that we can easily configure without any AI knowledge. You will be able to type it in plain English. And whenever you need some expressions, you can type it in line. So likewise, you see in the screen, you can type in line whatever the expressions that you need. So this particular example is like simple agent that analyze the feedback of a particular restaurant. So the feedback is negative, it send a email to the manager. If it is positive, it will save it to the file system. All are done using existing file connectors, email connectors that you guys are familiar with if you have used it. So all the existing tools, mediators will support as tools if possible. So basically So this is, if you try it with a simple prompt, like say, if it is nice restaurant, so this agent will figure out, okay, if the comment is, whether it's a good comment or bad comment, and act accordingly. So this tool has, so we have instructed it to analyze the feedback using OpenAI model, and we have in-memory memory, and then we have Gmail and the file connector as the tools for that. So basically, since it's a good feedback, it wrote that to the file. So it works really well. The agent will figure out how to deal with the feedbacks. And so if you send a the bad comment, it will try to send the mail to the given email address and escalate it so that we can act immediately. So the tools having agents so if you give tools to agents, it's like we have brain without arms and legs. So if you give tools, it can perform. If you have brain only, we can't perform. So giving tools, so this email, as you can see, it will send the email if it's a bad request. Okay, then now if you, in the last video, you might have seen a few expressions, a new kind of expression, not what you are familiar with, XPath or JSONPath. So we have invented a new expression language for Micro Integrator. So basically, as Shankar mentioned in the last session as well, so basically MI is like data flow model, where we have, it's very simple to understand. We get a message whenever it's a say it's a service or event integration or something like that. When we start in the integration, we get a message. That message will have a payload and headers and variables. So basically that visualization now is first class. So you can access any of the payload elements using payload. Really, if you tried it, it should be really straightforward. You don't need to study or learn about it. It's very natural. So if you want to check was.age is greater than 18 and return it's adult or child. Likewise, you can do filtering and you can do, so by the way, we support a lot of built-in functions. In XPath, we have a lot of functions. We have put all to here, and also we have added new functionalities like date time. So a lot of customers were asking about date time and utility functions. We have added that as well, and also Secure Vault is supporting by default. So we have HashiCorp Secure Vault and WSO2 Vault out of the box. And then if you can see, so historical problem was like in in Micro Integrator or ESB, we used to have a lot of property mediators. That was the number one complaint we get. So we have solved it using this. So you can see the first section is like, if you want to get first name, last name, and give the full name, most people have written it like in this way. JSONPath, since it's a JSON payload, you need to get JSON eval and get the first name assigned to a property, and get the last name and assign to another property. And then to add that to values, we need to create an XPath expression called fn concat and get the value. So that is perfectly fine for the XML world, but for JSON and XML to work together, I think the below one is much easier. Without any property mediator, we can directly add a variable called full name, and the expression will be like payload, first name, and plus last name. So it's simple as that. Using a single variable mediator, now we can do with what we have done with 3 property mediators. So you can, of course, learn more about, so you don't need to, so even if you Google Synapse expression, it will pop up, and in WSO2 doc page, if you search for Synapse expression, you can see the docs. So also in the graphical editor, since now we have modeled that thing as a language, so we can easily get suggestions and completion, auto completions and everything right out of the box. If you give the proper message structure, it will try to help you throughout the integration flow. So in the development, it's like really, really easy for to develop. So all the functions and everything is graphically you can add as well. Okay, so the designing, when you're designing this Synapse expression language, these were the key pillars that we followed. So basically these are coming from instruction set architecture, if you remember. So that's how CPUs run instructions. We keep the instructions as simple as possible so that we can with combinations, we can write complex problems, solve complex problems. So the simplicity is number one thing in the Synapse expression. It's like intuitive enough so that you don't need to study anything. And we have make it smaller because of, so basically XPath was using all the expression XML body to evaluate. So this one is much faster. We done a benchmark test on this. It was like 50% faster than XPath. So since it only runs the required expressions, so it don't need to run through the whole XPath spec. Basically, it's faster now. And the third point and the last one is like good designs demand compromise. Of course, we can't write multi-line expression in this expression language because it's an expression language. It's designed to solve the most complex problem of having expressions here and there, complex expressions. We have designed a similar simple expression language. Now, to tackle the third problem, we have to go to the transformer extensions. Basically, extensions, when it comes to extensions, we now support Ballerina module MI as first class mediator. That means the micro integrator now will have built-in support for Ballerina. So you can, in the micro integrator, you can click add Ballerina module and you can type Ballerina code there itself and it will run out of the box. So 100% tooling support is there. The VS Code plugins that we use the same underneath tool frameworks. And you can do the similar thing in Java and JavaScript, TypeScript as well, because we, as a platform, we support all these as first class tools. So basically, if you write in Java, you will get the same experience. If it is complex, you can, of course, go to Java, or TypeScript is now much faster because now it runs on Graal.js. So basically, earlier we had Rhino.js, which is somewhat slower, and then Rhino, after Rhino, we had, so the latest one is Graal.js, which is much faster. It's like Java level performance. We have done the benchmarks. So it's like Java level performance. There's no performance bottleneck. You can use JavaScript as you want. So this is how the Ballerina mediator or the Ballerina connector will look like in the MI editor. So basically, you can type Ballerina code here in the same plugin. It will automatically install the plugin underneath. And you, in the tool palette, you can see, you can refresh, you can write the Ballerina code and refresh. Once you refresh, it will generate the Ballerina module again and show the updated Ballerina. So in the Ballerina module, if you define invoice, it will show as invoice in the tool pane itself. So, So then we have added new feature called mediator tryout, so that we we don't need to run deploy into server or debug mode or add log mediators and print full logs. We can run each mediator at a time and then see what's the output. So basically, you need to give the request that we are going. So if it's a switch case, request 1 will go through the first switch case, and you can try it out and see whether it's going in the correct path, and so on. So you can click on the try out option, but it's experimental at the moment, but it'll soon be out of the experimental mode. And then if you run it, it'll show the input and output as you see here. Okay, so new mediators. So we have introduced a few new mediators to tackle decade-old problems with some of the mediators. So some of them were really good handling some tasks, but not in the optimum way for some new JSON kind of integrations. So scatter-gather mediator is now there. So earlier we had clone and aggregate as a separate mediators. You need to know how to use it. That both mediators should work seamlessly to get the scatter-gather pattern implemented, the EIP pattern. So new scatter-gather mediator will have a simple interface where you can create branches as much as you need, and you can simply collect at the end. So within a single mediator. And then we have a new ForEach mediator. Historically, we have ForEach and iterate2 mediators. By combination of those two, it was difficult for some of users to figure out how to use these mediators. So the new ForEach mediator will solve all the problems, and you can use or add or not call mediators. That's not a problem with the new ForEach mediator. And the new variable mediators must have to get rid of properties and to give more suggestions in the development experience. This variable mediator will support expressions, new expression editor, and auto-completion and everything. Then enhancing the log mediator and the payload factory mediator. Payload factory, historically, we used to write in this format, like we need to add $1, $2, and in the below you need to give $1 what it's supposed to do, and so on. In the log mediator also, if you were to print a log message, you need to add properties and then type literal plus variables. So in the new expression, new log mediator, it's like having expressions support as a template. So you can write it as a string, and if you want any expression, you can type open curly braces and write the expression, and it will work out. In the payload factory also, you can do the same. You can write it in line and it will work. Connectors also we have invested a lot and improved it. So basically now we have connector generator tool packed inside the VS Code itself. So if you have the OpenAPI specification, you can give it to the VS Code and it will generate the connector for you. So also the connectors, we are going to improve it and make it consistent. So historically we have a lot of connectors, but some behaves in different ways. So going forward, we'll have a consistent way of handling inputs and outputs. Basically, responses will now return to a single variable. So in the flow, you can use that variable to get whatever this particular connector outputs. So if that connector outputs variable values and the headers, you can get it as you want. And also you can replace the message if you want. That means what I explained in the data flow, we start with the message and it will flow through the mediators. If you click the replace message, it will replace the message with whatever the response coming from this connector. And there's a built-in test connection tool for you. When you're creating the connection, you can test connections itself. So this will come to connector by connector. At the moment, we have few connectors supporting this structure, but in the new connectors or the revamp connectors will support this structure going forward. And we have introduced a HTTP connector to handle the HTTP in a much simplified manner because of, say, HTTP mediator. Without HTTP mediator, you guys have seen some magic properties which we are using to get HTTP done, calls done. So here we have added all that magic properties to the HTTP connector itself. So force SSP accepted, historical, all the related HTTP connector things are now there in the HTTP connector cell itself as properties. So you can select the configurations there itself. So connector dependency management, basically Now if you add a connector to MI, so it will now maintain as a dependency in the POM file as a project dependency. Also with this, we now have all the connectors dependencies are also packed inside the so connector will have a descriptor, and when we pack the connector, it will automatically get whatever the required jars to run that particular connector. If you have the Kafka connector, it might require 10 other jars. So everything will pack as a deployment. There's a file called descriptor. So in the deployment build time, we'll get all these dependencies from Maven and put it in the server for you in the C app. So it will work out of the box. And we have support Java 21 from this version, and also we have added the environment specific, so environment variable injection for environment specific parameters. So in the Synapse, now you can write configs.something, and that particular value will be replaced from the system environment variable, system properties, or file there's a file called properties, so you can replace that in your environment. And this is how it looks like. So there's a config. So whenever you need the config, you can click on the config item, and then you can give the name and so on, and then type the property here. So we have invested heavily on our Copilot as well. So we had Micro Integrator Copilot built last year. So we have done a lot of improvements, and we have released the latest version, I believe day or two before, like to understand all the new syntaxes and everything. And so this scenario, if you think a simple scenario, if you have to implement it using Copilot, what we can now do is like it understand the visual images as well. If you give the image, when you are creating the project, now also I forgot to mention that now Java and everything will install automatically in the VS Code plugin. You don't need to install it manually. So when we describe the problem and attach this image, it will figure out how to create that integration to handle that currency conversion. So it will create all the required artifacts and with all the new properties. And so it will look something like that. It will have under call properties, so the parameters and everything, it figured out how to get it from the new expression language, and the variables and so on, exchange rate, it gets from the variable rate. So it's much easier to develop artifacts. Okay, so since we have limited time, I'll quickly cover you through what are the roadmap items for MI. So basically, the GenAI application building tool that we showed earlier will be available soon. And also, we are planning a feature called integrating seamlessly with API Manager. So if we are having an API Manager running, you will be able to discover APIs in the VS Code itself and consume those APIs as tools for agents and also for various data mapping and tool endpoint calling and so on. And file processing, ETL, or EDI also, we are working on those stuff as well. And connectors, we are heavily invested on connectors, and dedicated team is working for improving all the connectors, existing connectors, and plus adding new connectors to our connector store. And also we are further working on making the runtime further lightweight and faster. Final one is we are working on a feature to get MI run in Gal VM, so that will make the MI runtime much light footprint, and it will boot up really fast. So and then also for Copilot, we are working on like something, we are trying to get the Copilot to next level, and we try to give the feedbacks to the LLM and try to build integration by itself. So we are working on such feature as well. So sorry, I had to rush a bit because we are running out of time. We have a lot of features to cover. So hope you understand. Okay, so we are right on time. Yeah.